With Progressive's Name Your Price tool, you can find options that fit your budget, because giving you options is the right thing to do.
Oh yeah, like when I hold the door for someone. Sure, it may be weird if I don't time it right and they're a little too far away and now they're running. And we're both asking ourselves, is it worth it to run instead of just, letting them open their own door?
But still, it's the right thing to do. So get options based on your needs with Progressive's Name Your Price tool. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and third-party insurers. Comparison rates not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
It's ImmaLetYouFinish with Court and Amy, part of the Pantheon Podcast Network. Hey, y'all. Howdy. Hey, hi, hey, hi.
Hody, hody, ho. We don't like to start things on a downer note because there's enough in the world going on. But yesterday, the word, Courtney, we were talking about this. The word legend is highly overused. The word iconic is overused, and the whole concept of the culture, I think we can agree, is highly overused. But
it's like if I hear one person say the culture, I'm like, we're not some monolithic group. What culture? Like, I understand the culture. But the culture is broadened and it's expanded, and it is true. People use that for so many people. But this guy... Yeah,
so Greg, the writer Greg, well, he was more than a writer. The writer, intellectual, critic, musician, Greg Tate passed away on December 7th. 64 years old, which is way too young. And the cause of death doesn't even matter, but I don't know the cause of death. The thing is that, first off, I am not going to be as bold to say as we were friends in the sense that we hung out, but I certainly knew him. I had seen him at any number of musical events, and we had tons of mutual friends and at parties, and he was just a super nice guy. So we'll start there.
Yeah.
Super nice guy. Always a big hug. His Facebook postings were, I will freely admit that a lot of the stuff that I post on our Facebook page, I saw that Tate had done it. And I went, ooh, Tate, scouring the Guardian first thing in the morning. And somebody wrote a great thing. They said, the only writer not trying to be Greg Tate was Greg Tate.
Right.
Because I would say a good half of the writers out there, and I don't think they'll be insulted, younger writers, were doing their homage to Greg Tate, whether they realized it or not. So he was, right. For those of you who don't know who he was, he got his start as a writer in the Village Voice. 1987, I believe he was hired, 1989, or early. Got to start in the Village Voice, was one of the first, if not one of the most impactful writers about Black music and hip hop. Great, just a great writer. I'm not going to lie. I used to read his stuff and go, what the fuck is he talking about? I had no idea. I was like, he was like the king of verbiage and the king of the unbelievable spellings and just phraseology. And I'm not going to lie. He was so smart. I'd go, I have no idea what's going on. Became an essayist. One of his collections of his writing, Flyboy in the Buttermilk, which is one of the great titles of all time. Mm-hmm. And then he founded Burnt Sugar Orchestra. I don't know. I mean, and the thing is that he wasn't like in the declining years of his career. He's still doing stuff. He was still very relevant to it all. Very relevant. If you saw Summer of Soul, that's Greg opining. He's in pretty much every documentary. He just wrote the catalog notes for the Basquiat exhibit this summer in Boston. Yeah, it wasn't like he was some guy resting on his laurels. He was still making those laurels. Right. And so, and again, I'm not going to be so arrogant and say he was he's someone I just really liked. He was a really nice guy. I was always really glad to see him. He welcomed me to the Grandparent Club this year, which was nice. I hadn't seen him physically, like most of us. We hadn't seen people in a really long time, but it hit me. It really hit me, and I'm very grateful that I found out from a friend as opposed to reading it on social media.
Right. Yeah, and I found out from you as opposed to reading it on social media.
And that's the way you should find. But I will say, and you know this, Courtney, because you live in Harlem, the Apollo's sign is a tribute to him. They put up a sign memorializing him. And it's really...
He means something to the Black community. He means something to the music community. He means something to the journalism community. Listen, like you said, a lot of words are thrown around about a lot of people, but this man's work, I mean, you guys, there's so much of it. You can just Google his name and
35 years.
So much of it. Yeah. You'll understand why. And, I feel like, we always talk about things that seem our generation and our really sort of moments in this entertainment madness. And when those people start to die and it's another one that just feels weird, Well, it just does.
Yeah. And again, and now I obviously knew he was Greg Tate. I mean, he's one of those guys, Greg Tate, Iron Man, Greg Tate, Tate.
Right.
But what's kind of
one of those people who's both names, right?
Yeah. Greg Tate or Tate. But what's really kind of to see, I was like, holy crap, man, here's the obit. Here's the obit in Vulture. Here's the obit in Rolling Stone. I'm sure the Times is going to run. He just was. And he was an intellectual. He was like the people's intellectual. You know what I mean? I mean, like, I don't know. Great taste in music. Why? Just a good person. He leaves behind, a family. He leaves behind legions of friends. I mean, the tributes. It's just very, very sad. So, right. I mean, rest in peace, Greg Tate. Please, if you have not read his work, again, you may not understand it because a lot of people, he had his own really unique way of expressing things, but his love for music and his love for Black people and his love of creativity shines through. And so rest in peace, Greg Tate. I am glad I got to know you. And rest in peace.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. All right. All right. Let's from the sublime to the ridiculous. Oh, Jesus. Drake.
Okay. Here's what I want to say about Drake and these kids. Now I really ask, do I think that the Grammys have issues with just some nominees? Sometimes, yeah, okay, great. But you guys asked for a lot of changes. A lot of changes have happened. I don't understand what some of them want. Like, nobody's going to ever be 100% happy with not being nominated. And just because you have the most popular records of the year doesn't mean it's the best. And I think when it comes to the Grammys, that's how it should be. Two, I don't like these artists who listen, you can have your issue, right? But I don't like the breaking down of everything that is ceremonial that certain people love. You know what? If the Grammys don't mean anything to you, don't ever submit your music again. You don't have to. It's fine. I don't think you make Grammy-nominated, Grammy-worthy music anyway, especially on this record. You're the popular guy at the moment. You're not the best guy at the moment, but that's just my opinion. But that's for a whole other show. I just think fine. You want to pull your nominations out. That's great. No problem. You don't want to give a reason. That's great. No problem. But you guys, everybody keeps asking for changes. They change committees, but it's never, we see a whole bunch of new nominees. There's a lot of people being infused in different categories. And I just don't understand what people actually want. Do you want to be able to design how the category is going to look? I mean, what are you not happy about this time? I feel like it is always something, and it's always something with him. And I personally think the Grammys still count, and I think it's a great honor when you get one.
Yes.
And if you don't want one, it's fine.
Yeah, no one's asking you to. It's not obligatory.
And guess what? The Grammys don't just nominate you. People at your label or your management team submit you for Grammys. You're submitted for these categories. So how about this? Just don't Tell your people, I don't want to be submitted anymore. And that's it. But I'm so tired of you making some grand national stand about the Grammys when it's just like, if you don't want one, don't submit for one. And it won't be a problem. It really won't.
Yeah. So, I agree. First off, this International Loverboy got terrible reviews. All right. So neither here nor there, and you're right. It's not always the most popular. There are some things where they acknowledge popularity, but it got terrible reviews. I just have a feeling that Drake is is whiny. He's just a whiny boy and nothing will be good enough for him. He doesn't get this. He doesn't. I will tell you, we don't always get what you want.
Fucking Diana Ross never got a Grammy for any of those music, any of that music, anything with with the Supremes. It's like, come on. If anybody should be bitching over a career that deserved a bunch of Grammys, you know what I mean? It's like, in great Drake, you actually have some Grammys. And quite frankly, I just don't understand people's fascination with him and his music. I never have.
Well, I do.
Do you?
Yes.
Why?
Because he doesn't speak to me, but I will tell you that everyone loves him outside of, I'm not crazy about him. He has made some really good songs. He's got his songs sound great. He's not my cup of tea. I will say this. I think if Kanye hadn't gotten an Album of the Year award, he would not be whining as much because Kanye is his direct competition.
Right.
And Kanye got the Album of the Year award, a whole nother, and like I said, I listened to both records. I kind of, I did the A&R version. I skimmed through. Artistically, the Kanye record is better. Artistically. Mm-hmm. Okay. And gee whiz, maybe the Grammys are supposed to be about artistry. I'll take Vince Staples over both of them. Right, but honestly. He didn't. There's a million other rappers. Mm-hmm. I understand. You know what? Get your Junos. All right, Kanye can't get a Juno. Get a Juno. Shut up. You have a backup award to get. He just is tiresome to me, and it's just to me just such a sign of insecurity and weakness at almost 4. Well, no, he's in his 40s, I'm sure, at this point.
No, I don't think he's in his 40s. I don't think.
But he's close to it. He's very rich. You have the affirmation you need. Again, really, if it's that important to you, yeah. Or if it's not, it's just the performative of it. I'm going to be nominated, and then I'm going to pull my nominations. And you know what? That was like a 12-hour news cycle story, and nobody really cares. Nobody really fucking cares. But something I think that is potentially a little more consequential with the Grammys is the whole songwriting credit for Olivia Rodrigo's Sour. And now her record is obviously up for Album of the Year, and she's up for record. I mean, this is a substantial artist. So you have some, you want me to take this one, or do you?
Yeah, take it. Mm-hmm.
All right. So basically, Jack Antonoff, who's a producer and a songwriter for basically everyone except for me and Courtney at this point, we're in discussions. St. Vincent, and who was the other person? It was St. Vincent. Oh, Taylor Swift.
Taylor Swift, yeah.
Olivia Rodrigo included them as co-writers on, I believe, one of her songs or two of her songs, maybe the one that was nominated. So that's the one that's a big conflict. Well, it turns out that Grammys had said, we can't give them they're not going to get nominated for a Grammy because they didn't really co-write it. What they did was it was an interpolation, meaning Olivia Rodrigo took elements of their songs and they redid it in the studio. So it's not a direct sample. It's not a sample. It's sort of what happened with Elvis Costello and her song. I mean, that's the Pump It Up riff, and that's also the Elastica, the guitar riff. But basically, I think what Olivia Rodrigo did was preemptively give them co-writing credit to avoid a lawsuit potential, and also to show their influence on her, which is a great move. But what the Grammys is saying is, okay, that's great, but they didn't co-write the song. You were influenced, you put elements of their song in it, but it's not a strict co-write. Right. So they will not get if Olivia Rodrigo wins the Grammy, which I think she will for Album of the Year, or I hope she will, they will not get a co-writing credit, which in the scheme of things, I'm sure Taylor Swift can live without that. And I think all three of these people being seasoned veterans, especially Taylor Swift and Jack Antonoff, will not lose any sleep over this. But I
think they'll understand that. Well, because also... It's
an interesting call, though.
It is an interesting call, right? Because if you do take a little smattering of something, you're inspired by something, you create new art from it, it goes back to sampling, right? So I understand giving people credit for where that idea came from, but they're right. They didn't write the song. Right. So it's like, I believe in credits. You should be credited for that. And if you have to pay a sample clearance or something, I absolutely get that.
Absolutely.
But I don't think you should also then be submitted as for Album of the Year if we're talking a line from one song.
Or not even a line. It's almost like it almost feels like, away from what I read, it was not even like a line. It was almost like a vibe.
Right.
Because let's be honest, there's only so many notes on the keyboard. I mean, there are lots of songs we've all listened to and go, wow, this really sounds familiar. So I think this was sort of her, it's like it's sort of like an Ed Sheeran and kind of borrowing Scrubs. To me, that was a lot more obvious because you're sitting there singing his song going, wow, this sounds a lot like Scrubs. And then, Blurred Lines, that's a whole nother case. That to me was not an interpolation. That was
they kept trying
that was an uncleared sample.
When they kept trying to have that fight, I was like, but I understand.
But
that's this song.
Yeah. I mean, because
I'm glad you added some other things on top of that, but come on.
There's inspiration and that was one of those things where it wasn't until the vocals came in until you were sure what song it was.
It's like you take the most famous part of a song and be like, I don't know what you're talking about.
I have no idea what you're talking about. I was just inspired by it. And it's like, okay, yeah, we were all inspired by things. So I think it was a magnanimous and interesting creative call on Olivia Rodrigo, because she has been very quick each time to go, yeah, you're right, and not fight it. But I think the Grammys ultimately made the right call because we could be there forever. Then every goddamn person in the world, we could be there forever. So I think it's a good call.
And I have to tell you, just from someone who's worked on a lot of albums, when I'm starting to see the amount of people credited on these records, it's like, we're really moving to something where it takes 9,000 people to make one record these days. I'm waiting for, when you get that's why I'm always excited when you get like the Adeles of the world or the Taylor Swifts of the world, where really, when you come down to those credits, it's not that many people.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's a whole conversation.
I enjoy a one producer album. There's a certain consistency.
I like a one producer album.
There's a certain consistency that you really, really, really get.
Well, and again, we should discuss this coming into New Year. It's like, are you making an album or are you making a collection of tracks?
It really is my wish. I feel like Beyonce is as one of the biggest stars in the world. She's accomplished a lot. I'm going to be really curious, and I am really excited for the day that she decides. Because I know one day she will say, I'm going to write this album myself, go back. Because she writes a lot and have a one work with one producer. For some reason, I always think of her and a Rick Rubin album. And her would be
really?
A mate for some reason. I just feel like the way he likes to record, and she would come out with
I think she's too much of a control freak to let Rick Rubin into
Well, no, remember, you think about the stuff that especially the stuff that he's done with women. I think she's going to get to a place where she will pick one producer and do one producer, and she write the album, and I think magic will come from that.
Well, I mean, Jay got one of his biggest hits with Rick Rubin. Rick Rubin is not the guy I would think of at first, but he does have the ears for anything.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
I think it needs to be something like that, because who's it going to be these days, right? Everybody's running to the Jacks and the this one.
Well, no, she wouldn't go to Jack Antonoff.
I think it would be somebody for this record. It would be someone like that, really big, who can come with because the thing is, he knows how to produce that kind of a sound, and I think that it would be something like that. It's just you like you said, there's something really magical about the thread of having a one producer album.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
Unless you're not that kind of artist. I mean,
Right.
we it's like, if you're not that kind of artist, if you're an artist, I mean, let's be fair. Some of the classic, not classic, but some of the really important and big R&B acts of the 90s, it was evenly divided between 2 or 3 producers, and we were okay with that. But those producers did have a very trademark sound. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, that's an interesting idea. But anyway, I'm glad the Grammys made that decision. Well, since you are the captain of the Adele fan club, why don't I got to tell you something really funny, and then I'll let you talk about it. So, for my final homework for one of my classes, we were doing poetry, and so I have the students, if they want to submit a poem written by a poet, and then explain why they picked it, or song lyrics. And one of my students submitted an Adele song.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he formatted it all wrong, and it was like, that's a whole nother conversation. But I just said to him, this is great, but you do have to be careful with stuff like that, because you have to make sure she wrote it because she works with collaborators, but it doesn't matter anyway. I mean, bless his heart. All right, Adele, what's going on with that undersung, struggling, underwritten, underappreciated artist?
Well, let's talk about how the tickets was supposed to go on sale at a certain time.
At her residency. It's a residency. And of course, there was some kind of Amazon web outage, which completely started to delay the ticket situation, because Amazon Web Services they host a lot of sites, and everything got screwed up. And people are really turned out because they kept not listing how much the tickets are. And people are just like, they're really expensive. And I think a lot of folks are just kind of How real? Give me an idea. Expensive how?
Hundreds of dollars a ticket.
All right. So comparable. Okay. Who would be comparable to her in terms of what were the Madonna tickets going for?
I would say probably comparable to Madonna. Madonna was really expensive.
Right.
Madonna was really expensive.
Yeah.
Like Madonna was super fucking expensive now.
That's what I heard
about it.
And here's the one thing about
Madam
it.
X, I really enjoyed that show, but Madam X was real. I felt, Madonna, first of all, Madonna was my first. Like for all my career, I can tell you Madonna was my first $100 ticket, $200 ticket, $300 ticket, $400 ticket. I'm a person who maxes out. I will not pay more than $400 for a ticket, and I have to really like you. But I'm still lucky because, I'm not, from all the years of working in the music industry, knock on wood, I still don't really have to buy concert tickets. I'm still invited to shows mostly. But there have been times when going to Madonna, I'd be going to multiple shows, and it just got really expensive. And I understand for a lot of Adele fans, some of the people feel, they feel it in the UK, they're upset because the way the festival, like for the 2 Hyde Park shows, the tickets are absolutely expensive, but even the cheaper seats in that expensive area are not close to the stage. And if you want tickets that are closer to the stage, I believe they're like $600 to $900 for those seats.
You know how we solve this problem? Mm-hmm. Don't buy the tickets. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, but I
mean, I agree with you 100%.
And I'm also with it is fucked up, right? But it's one of those things, like if you can't afford it, you kind of just can't, but it's fucked. I get that wanting to see your favorite artist,
of course,
and then realizing if you're just a person, an average person, family and kids, the thought of coming up with extra hundreds of dollars for one night for a show does not always work.
It's obscene. It's obscene. I just want to mention for our home viewers that Courtney and I do this over Zoom, and we're halfway through the show, and he didn't tell me that my picture.
Because you're a woman.
No. I'm a blank screen.
Because you're a woman, and I'm thinking first thing in the morning, maybe this day she wasn't feeling well and she doesn't want to be seen on camera. So I'm not going to be like, put your camera on because we're not taping video.
Because I know woman.
Today I feel like I got hit in the face with 2 frying pans. I could have absolutely had my camera off.
No, it's just funny because I was like, holy shit, I didn't even turn on. No, I look, I would never pay. I would never pay that. That's just fucking ridiculous. I'm sorry. And
what's the most you've ever paid for a ticket?
$15. I'm serious. Or no, maybe back when I was a civilian. No, probably $30. I don't pay for shit. I'm sorry. This is a horrible thing to say.
No, I was about to say it's been a long time, so I'm sitting here like
I'm not trying to be like extra. I'm not trying to be extra, but to be really honest with you, if I can't get in for free and it's a bummer, it's like whatever. Life goes on. I mean, I'm not trying to be a jerk. I was very lucky at a point in my career where it wasn't even a question.
I didn't even realize this. The pre-sale got knocked until today. So it didn't even go. That's another reason why they're so pissed. Because here's the thing. Everybody knows the tickets are going to be really expensive. They won't put the prices anywhere. So you have to do all this verified fan shit. You won't know until today at noon if you've gotten the code to be able to buy tickets, how much. But everyone knows that they're about to be hundreds to probably thousands of dollars.
I'm going to say something really not mean, but not mean. I think Adele is great. Mm-hmm. She has a history of vocal problems and she's not, and she has always been,
which is why it's smart to do 2 shows, 2 weekend shows.
I'm sure it's going to be a great show, but please don't take this the wrong way. People can do what they want with their money. But if this is honestly a conversation, you're back and forth with yourself. I'm talking about the fan. Come on. It's just ridiculous.
Right.
It's her right. You go with what the market, if the market would bear it, but I just think in the cosmic scheme of things, I think it's ridiculous.
Well, but sometimes,
especially since it's not going to be an expensive show to mount.
That's not true. That's not true. That's
dancers.
Yes, but that's the thing that people don't realize. Even shows when you have your band and running a show, they are really expensive to run. Even if you don't have dancers, you know what I mean? So that I'm never going to say because I've played with costs for every kind of show, and shows can be expensive. And listen, if you're an expensive artist, your musicians are top tier, people are getting paid. Everything you're factoring in to those prices is the housing for everybody that you've hired that's doing this show. Like you want the show not to just break even and make money. So I understand that like a show like Madam X was really expensive, but still with Madonna and all the late fees, she lost money on that tour because if you want to come on at 11 o'clock at night in most cities that are union houses, well, if you're starting at 11 or after 11, you've already hit past union time. So everything's, those kind of shows are expensive. My thing is this, I absolutely understand being upset, but that means sometimes you just can't go, right?
You can't go.
That's really what it is.
That's it. You can't go. All right. That's it. Wah, wah. She'll do an HBO special and it'll be fun. I mean, I'm not trying to be a bitch.
Fun fact, I've been offered Adele tickets and I was like, no, that's okay. Like when she was at the Garden last time. And I really like her, but I was like, I'm not ready. Like, I know if I really want to see her one time, if there's a moment that it hits me to be like, go see Adele this time, I will. But I was like, I get it. I know what it's going to be. It's fine. Yeah,
it's fun. All right. Fuck Chris Cuomo. There's my.
Chris Cuomo's been fired, and then they acted like he quit his Sirius XM show. But I'm going to say he was probably booted from that too. Before, probably. And Merry Christmas. So what else? What's next?
Yeah, I'm so.
And Alec Baldwin, shut the fuck up, please. Hi, shut the fuck up, please. Why are you doing interviews? Why? What? Like about your feelings? No one cares. No one cares. There's a full investigation still going on. We still don't know why any of this shit happened. Why live rounds on that set? You doing that interview, I feel like was tone deaf. And to me, I saw an actor. I wouldn't even watch the whole thing. The little bits I saw, I was like, you look like an actor acting, and this is bullshit. Shut up.
I don't understand why he did the interview because any lawyer will tell you not to do an interview because it's an ongoing investigation, as you said, and things can be brought up. The one thing I will say in his defense, because I mean, and again, I don't want anyone to think I don't care about this, but there is so much gun violence in this country. And I hope that this draws attention again to the proliferation of guns and our gun culture, because there was no reason there had to be a real gun on this set, because you can CGI it. And I have my issues with Baldwin, as you do. I think he's a great actor. I think he's kind of an asshole. The question George Stephanopoulos asked him, do you see yourself as a victim? And he goes, no, I do not. So I will give him, he did not say I'm a victim. He did defer, but I agree with you 100%. Why are you talking? There's a trial going on, or not a trial. But
also,
there's
he doesn't feel guilty. It's like, listen, you may not have meant to shoot somebody, but how are you not racked with guilt? Whatever was in your hand killed somebody and hurt someone. Stop fucking talking. Because it seemed very self-serving Alec Baldwin bullshit, and it seemed like a performance. And of course, what happened? He got attacked on Twitter, and again has deactivated his Twitter because people are looking at him like, what the fuck is wrong with you? This woman has a family. She's got a kid. It's like, no one needs to see you crying and giving your how you feel show. It's like, there's something about him that just really comes off like a sleazy person. This is just not
he's an asshole. I think he's kind of like, I will say though, for a Catholic to say they don't feel guilt, that's major.
I mean, we're born with guilt. I was going to
say, please no disrespect, but for a Catholic, I'm like, the whole religion is built on atoning for
It's like
shit.
you come into Catholic school like, you know, you sinned this morning, right? Like, I know, Father, I know.
I know. Really? I mean, that's like major. I was like, wait a minute. You were born and raised, you're an Irish Catholic, born and raised in the church, and you don't feel guilt? Every Catholic I know feels guilt, whether they've been to church in the last 5 years.
It's like, sir.
Wow.
Sir.
Well, you have transcended
But
God.
He's also married to a Spanish lady who's from Boston, and he tried to act like he didn't know. So, like, that just lets you know right there who that one is. And let's move on. What's next?
You can handle... do you want to do the Zoom one, or do you want to talk about
please don't fire employees of a Zoom. Don't make people think that they're going to have a Christmas call. And then what is it? These straight men and their feelings are really incredible to me. Like, because Alec is straight man, his feelings, and this dude, and he sat as you're firing people being like, the last time I did this, I cried. How it made me feel. And then went on to tell everybody it was their productivity. And then you find out later that he was calling them dumb dolphins and all kinds of crazy shit.
I don't understand. Dolphins are very intelligent, by the way. Dolphins are very intelligent. And I am here to defend the dolphin.
I was like, that's the animal you chose?
It's a mammal. It's like, I am here to defend the dolphin.
I was like, you chose one of the smartest mammals in the sea. It's like, okay.
The flipper, okay, that was a smart fucking fish there. This guy, I can't remember the guy's name, but he is supposedly he is just has been AKA terrible bus from the very beginning. So that he did this is obviously horrible. This is the world we live in. But the fact that he's always been kind of a horrible guy from what I have read, and I am glad in a way that it got media attention because look, people get fired all the time. You've been fired. I've been fired. But there is a thing that you should, A, do it in person, and B, come on, let him work through Christmas and then fire him. All right.
Like, you don't know. I don't know if you noticed, but I kind of can have a big mouth sometimes.
No.
Shocking. I know. No. Shocking.
No.
So
that's it. I quit.
Let me tell you what I did the time during a mass layoff. I was working at this fun tech company called fab.com. Shout out to Dre and all my people that I met there that I'm still friends with. This was and my friend Jade. 2011. I worked there from 2011 to almost the end of 2012. It was 2 years. It was fun. It was a fun company. But, like a lot of tech companies, they got a lot of funding, started buying up all these other companies, and kind of lost the heart of what the company was. It started hiring all of these people. So, of course, now they have to scale back and they decide they're laying off all of these people. And I started in production, and then I moved to this department that kind of dealt directly with vendors and stuff. So I was part of the team that got laid up. I didn't care because this was a break from the music industry. I was starting a new album in like a week. My energy was like, okay, cool. Like, this experiment of doing something different and knowing that I could do something different was fun. And knowing that I could do a tech job was cool, and learning about that. But I remember sitting down there, and the owners of the company went upstairs to the roof to the people who still had their job and was telling them it's a sad day. Then there's all of these people downstairs. I'm sitting around, including people like me who were there. I was like number 30 something at the company. So there were people there from the beginning, and they're all crying, and I'm seeing all these young people crying. And they sent HR down to speak. And I stood up and I said, I don't mean to cut you off, but do you see all of these people down here motherfucking crying? I was like, where are Well, they're upstairs. They're upstairs with the people who still have jobs. Look at all these young people. They're crying. Why aren't they hearing from them? Like, they're upstairs telling those people it's a sad day. I was like, this is bullshit. Cut the speech and let's get to the part where you just tell everybody what their fucking compensation was. And honey, I literally stopped that meeting, and then they broke up, pulled people into sections to tell them what their compensation was. Because I was like, don't sit here and tell people who are losing their job it's a sad day when the owners of the company upstairs telling the people still have a job it's a sad day. They should be facing these kids who are crying. Because I don't, like, it was such a weird thing. I've been part of a layoff before. I've survived layoffs at Sony. I've been laid off. But to see all of that in one room, and I always find it really interesting that bosses always chicken out at that moment and they don't face their people. And the way he did that, I thought, it just reminded me of that moment. I was like, that's a cop-out. You're a cop-out. That's bullshit. And it's bullshit. And treat people better. It's why a lot of people are fucking leaving their jobs and becoming entrepreneurs and doing different shit. It's like there's a certain amount of respect that you want from people when they work from you. And as workers, we give that shit. You know, you give it. But when they're ready to be done, the way you're just kind of discarded is some bullshit. Do fucking better, bosses. Do better. All right, I'm done. Let's move on. What's next?
The one time I got fired from VH1 when I was on air and a writer. So they fired me and they had put my office next to the supply cabinet. So I cleaned it out and I sent my son's school like 2 huge boxes of, no, you think I'm kidding? I sent my son's school, like elementary school, like boxes of reams of copy paper. Every child at PS20 had a Viacom pencil. Okay. Then, no, I'm serious. Then did you literally just go and you were like, fuck that? Let me. No, it's in my office. They put me in a closet.
You literally were in the supply closet.
I was in the supply closet. There was a door because they put me in there because I used to sit in the writer's room and I used to drive the writers nuts because I would hold for it, play music, and I would finish my job at 4:30. I'm like, I've been here for my 8 hours. I got to go home, pick up my kid. And you know how people love to work late. They think it's like a sign of achievement. I'm like, not me. I got a kid to pick up at daycare. But anyway, and then they stoop. All right. So I cleaned out the closet. You know, everybody gets a hole puncher. And then they stupidly rehired me. I'm like, wee! And I went downstairs to wardrobe for the show I was on, and I was like, everything I've owned, box it up, everything you put me in.
Right.
And they were so happy. And I still have shoes from back then. It was great. Anyway.
I love it. You were like, my size, all of it.
These are mine. You bought them for me to wear. You can't use them again. It's not like you can borrow shoes and return them. They always borrow. These were my shoes with my name inside of it. And I was like, but yeah, every kid at PS20 had like a Viacom pencil.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. Shout out to VH1. Thank you, Viacom. You wouldn't give me unemployment, but you wouldn't give me health care and you wouldn't give me unemployment, but I got your pencils.
You're like, but I got your motherfucking pencils and the paper was very appreciated.
I believe children are the future and you help them. Anyway, you want to talk about what we were talking about, or do you want to... All right. We've had a moment of charity and clarity on an issue.
Honey, we've had a moment of charity.
Charity and clarity.
Jesus took the wheel.
Yeah. We're like, you know what? Can you tell we're getting towards mid-December?
Can you it's the end of the year. We're both like, hey, thank you so much for listening.
Right. What day? Oh, I just want to say one thing. I went to the theater the other night, Courtney.
Oh, what'd you go see?
Kiki and Herb, who I'd never seen before.
Oh, wow.
Free ticket.
Nice.
It was a gay old time.
Nice.
It was lots of fun.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how I've managed not to see Kiki and Herb, who are
been around for years.
Yeah, downtown Justin Vivian Bond and Penny Melman.
Legends.
I love a holiday show. I can safely say I have never been to a show in all of my life where someone is doing jokes about Sylvia Plath sticking her head into an oven as a party trick. Everyone had to wear masks, very safe, vaccination status, ID, mask. Of course, since the audience was 3/4 gay men with money, they were fabulous masks, and I had a blast. It was great. It was great. It was lots of fun, and it felt nice to be in a room with people. That said, I am getting COVID tested today because I was in a room with people.
Well, the funny thing is I'm going to see Company next week.
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing.
With my old boss from Columbia.
Nice.
And I've just been thinking, even though I've been keeping it safe, I'm going to get COVID tested before I go home to see my mom because I'm leaving on the 21st. Oh, no,
you should, for sure.
So I'm going to get COVID tested. For sure. Like late next week.
You know what? Just to say about Kiki and Herb, they did the Christmas show and all the jokes and the Christmas stuff and all the craziness. And then for the second encore, Kiki, aka Justin Vivian Bond, sang "Send in the Clowns," and I have never heard that performed live. And it
really?
Isn't just well. I mean, who would I have seen that would have performed it?
So
live?
many. Well, I was going to say so many people have recorded that.
Recorded it. I've heard recording of it, but I've never heard it. So
it's beautiful live. It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Beautiful. All right. Anything you want to mention here, my friend?
Yes. Thank you for rocking with us all year long, guys. You know, we're looking, this is a time of year where everybody gets their year-end numbers, and we've had a lot of growth across the networks, and you guys are listening longer. And I love that people tell me, like, I'm behind, but we're listening to the shows and we're catching up.
It's fun, right?
So,
it's fun, isn't it?
It is fun. And we, next week is going to be our year-end show. We're going to give you that. And then the next show will be the first week of January. So you have time all through the holidays to just catch up. We need to take a little break because you guys have rocked with us, and we've got so much good shit coming in 2022, but we are talked out. Wish.
Remember a while back, we put certain people, I don't even want to mention the name because they'll pop up in a box. I am officially nominating Adele, anything Cuomo adjacent. And Baldwin, box. Yeah, we're not talking about him anymore.
Drake too. Drake's it.
Let's put Drake in a box.
He's right at. He's not fully in, but he's right at the lid of the box.
He's getting there. He's walking a little too close to the box for me. So
it's like,
maybe we won't lock him in the box like we're going to do with the rest.
Like Miss Girl, I can't.
Yeah.
I can't.
Canada. That's all I got to say.
You know what I'm saying? So thank you guys. Thanks for rocking with us. We love you. Thanks for also checking out other shows on the Pantheon Podcast Network, like our buddies at Rock's Back Pages. We love them. And, you guys should check them out. And who cares about the Rock Hall and so many other shows. So, you know what to do. You could talk to us. We're on Twitter at FinishIma. We're there all day. Talk to us on Facebook at ImmaLetYouFinish, all one word. We're there all day. Hit us on IG at ImmaLetYouFinish NY. We're there all day. Hey, we're here all day, kids, without a 2-drink minimum. Thank you for rocking with us. We love you. ImmaLetYouFinish. Court and Amy, Pantheon Podcast Network. We'll see you next week.
Take care, everybody.
And now another no-brainer money-saving tip from Progressive.
It looks like your luggage is over 50 pounds. Is there anything you can take out?
Oh, yeah. Let me just toss all these $20 bills.
Great. Let me grab you a trash can.
Stop. Instead of throwing money away, move some clothes into a carry-on. And here's a better tip from Progressive on how not to waste money. Don't pay too much for car insurance. Drivers who switch and save could save hundreds. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary.
It's NFL draft season, and that means it's time to start thinking about fantasy football. FantasyPoints.com features industry-leading experts and prognosticators using proprietary hand-charted data to help you score more fantasy points. FantasyPoints.com is the place to go for whatever kind of fantasy football you play. Whether you play fantasy football, daily fantasy sports, or do a little bit of everything, Fantasy Points has the meticulously researched content to guide you to victory. And why wait for the fall? Fantasy Points also covers the new spring football league, the UFL. Join the guru, John Hansen, Scott Barrett, Joe Dolan, and other massive names in the fantasy football universe with an exclusive offer. Use code Pantheon for 15% off any Fantasy Points package, including the all-in package, with access to every article, tool, and data nugget that Fantasy Points has to offer. That's FantasyPoints.com and code Pantheon for 15% off at Fantasy Points. FantasyPoints.com, code Pantheon. Score more fantasy points.